let's continue with a few questions to our distinguished panelists. First contribution will be from Arturo Capasso. Arturo Capasso is a professor of corporate governance at the Università degli Studi del Sannio. And please feel free to introduce any topic that you deem interesting for this session. I have just one small question for you, and it would be nice to hear from you considering the financial situation on the background. From a strategical point of view, why making merger and acquisition?
Well, thank you very much. Thank you to Francesco Lauro for organizing this special part of the conference on mergers and acquisition. My idea is that I was wondering why M&A is starting to be considered an important issue in for the shipping companies. But my idea is that probably, okay, the most important competitors for the mergers and acquisition was simply buying the ship. So in the shipping industry, we didn't see so many mergers and acquisitions simply by the fact that they are very much asset-based companies. So when you buy the ship, probably it's like when you buy a company. My idea is that probably there are some segments in the shipping industry where the intangible assets are becoming more important than in the past. So in this case, you cannot simply buy the asset, but you have to buy the company. This can be a possible answer to your question. Why in this period or in this phase of the market, probably they are starting to consider mergers and acquisition as a proper tool for strategic implementation. A second possible answer can depend on the fact that many companies are becoming listed and public companies. Especially in the past, we have seen company going public, and shipping company going public probably consider public company use their shares as money for the acquisition. So can be simpler for a company to buy another company with a merge. And third question, I think it's very important not only to consider the horizontal mergers, but also the vertical mergers in some industry. If we consider, for example, container industry and the container line, in this particular segment of the market can be important to broaden the scope to simply to control the supply chain, because we know that in the container market, in the intermodal transportation, the buyer-seller relationship is not the same. That it's not a real market transaction, but there are many aspects connected to transaction cost, to the trust between the parts, simply because the performance of the final customer is interested in the performance of all the supply chain, the logistics supply chain, not only on the shipping segment.
Thank you, Arturo, for the delivery your answer. But as my question was just on your point before mentioning about the container sector, because some years ago you and me carried on an analysis and research about the cruise sector. In cruise sector, you know that almost the 50% of the market is in the hand of the first 5 operators. In container sector, just to give you a very, very brief figure, that roughly 30% represent the first 10 companies. But there are a lot of competitors in container sector. So I want to ask you do you expect more merger and acquisition activities in the M&A in the container sector than the other main sector of the shipping industry like tanker or dry bulk? Or do you think that the mood will change also in tanker and dry? Please reply, but take me the opportunity to ask after to my friend Angelo about this point, because I want to hear his opinion after. But Angelo, please quiet after I have a question for you. But I want to get your opinion about the container sector.
Okay, just I don't want to speak before Angelo on tanker and bulk carrier. So I will talk about the cruise industry, because you mentioned the cruise. And according to my opinion, perhaps cruising is a very good example of those industries in which probably the management and the organization of a company is more important than simply the ship as investment. So, for example, you have much more investment in marketing, in organization, in systems and procedures. And this can be a point in favor of mergers and acquisition rather than other forms of growing for a company. For the bulk and tankers market, please speak with Angelo.
Just to follow on and going onward, so, and I have some question for Angelo, because I am very happy to see close to Angelo Peppino. Peppino can get for us his opinion about the future of the M&A in the dry bulk, but we have seen very few transactions mostly in the Italian market. So to give just a figure, just only 10 transactions were implemented in the M&A market in the last 10 years in Italy. So, and in the total, on the total amount worldwide, over 400 transactions. And no transaction in dry bulk, but only in the ferry sector, mostly in the ferry sector, one in the tanker sector, the privatization, so the split off of tanker division of Eni in 2005. So why no M&A in shipping in general? So for your opinion, your view is, I have 4 points to point out to you. The lack of an independent management team, the dry bulk company and generally speaking the tramp companies, in that prevails the family interests. So we say that from one company we get 4 companies, or the lack of a strategic view. And before Arturo stated that the offshore team management does not prevail with the crewing. So the seamen, seafarers is more important than the onshore staff group. So the asset playing strategy and the asset focus, the business that prevails on the intangible asset. And last one, the absence in Italy of an equity capital market. So I mean that just the 1% of the total transaction, 2% of total transaction are pure corporate deal transaction, and the 75% are represented by asset deal transaction. And is an opportunity for you in this time to buy vessel, to buy company, then vessel mostly public company than vessel. So I mean the price to net asset value now marks roughly 1.5 times. Please.
How much
The
time
question is so long, I'm very worried about the answer.
I will try to be short. I think some of the replies, now don't worry, will be quite quick. Now, some of the replies I think they've been taken or they've been even replied today, this morning by Gabriele, Gore, and even by Giuseppe Rizzo. The reality is that, let's say, we need, more concentration in the company. On the other hand, let's say the industry has gone exactly the opposite, because you're totally right. So I'm part of a family, let's say, who was originally, let's say, belonging to 3 partners. Now there are 3 companies, and many others, let's say, sitting. And absolutely, as you know very well, I'm absolutely, let's say, against family split. So I would be, I was totally, let's say, unhappy about, let's say, the family split in my family. The reason is very simple. We should see the past. So the past was a different world. Very easy financing, very easy money, very easy to buy ships, many opportunities, and let's say, and lack of strategies, and in many cases, lack of transparencies. Now I think we will be forced, because it is a fact that there is no finance for, let's say, growing. There is limited, or I would say, very limited finance for acquisition. So I think it will be, let's say, it will become more and more, let's say, possible to grow by buying companies. On the other hand, there is an issue that is very important. The personalization of this kind of industry, let's say, with the families, with the owner, and I'm an example. At the end of the day, I'm the managing director of the company, but I'm shareholder. So there is a clear identification between owners and managers. This is a limit, of course, let's say, for the industry. On the other hand, I have to say I'm a bit skeptic that we will find something very soon and very important, let's say, in terms of, let's say, mergers and acquisition, especially in dry bulk and tankers, for the reason why that each of us, let's say, has a history of 100 years, and each one feels to be very much independent, let's say. We cooperate a lot. We will cooperate. I mean, cooperation in terms of commercial agreement, we did in the past, for example, when we approached the market on project, yards, and specific ideas. But I think that the concentration on the merger acquisition will pass through, let's say, some defaults, or maybe through bankrupts, or, let's say, non-performing, let's say, situation in companies. And in this respect, maybe banks can be very, let's say, can be the key leaders and indicators, because it would be very easy. I mean, it has been until couple of years ago, very easy to growing by, simply ordering ships and buying ships. Today, this is not possible because there's no finance there. So maybe opportunities are coming out by merging. But then, of course, let's say you have to see which is the net asset value, which is the company value. So there are many issues. And I think one of as Gabriele said, I like very much what Gabriele said. I mean, lack of transparency. It's not easy to understand what you are sitting, what you are looking, let's say, in terms of competitors. It is a process that we will see, not many. Also because, let's say, we have to be honest. One thing is, Diego, which is, a fully integrated company where, let's say, the capacity of, logistic inland and, door-to-door service is the real added value of the company. Frankly speaking, any of tanker and dry bulk owner at the end of the day is a good manager of a big box with an engine full on the trunk. So there is no real big much added value, let's say, in terms of being competitive in terms of logistics. So you will be definitely focused on assets, which are very much standardized. Opportunities will come, and maybe banks will play a role on that, because, let's say, it's clear that there will come opportunities. We need also to share with the banks a little bit of more brave, because in this very moment I see opportunities not only on the merger acquisition, but even on the simple, let's say, asset buying project, because anything you are buying today will cost you maybe 40–50% less than what it was costing 2 years ago, and still you may manage. I'm referring to new building mainly. And still you will get delivery. I mean, with very forward, in some further time where maybe you will have opportunity, let's say, to overcome the crisis.
Angelo, you raised very interesting issues. It was very interesting to underline that through integration you can enhance synergies and improve profitability. This is a big boost to a merger and acquisition, of course, might be. But
if I can,
sorry,
I believe that the short-term future of the industry would be much, much more cooperation about competitors. I have to say my age and my generation is much closer than my father's, let's say, age and generation. So we do cooperate a lot and we exchange information much more. From here to pass to the second step would be merging families, each of them with 100-year history in shipping and each of them, let's say, pretending to be the best and independent is not easy. But I mean, it's very, it would be, you know, it would be preferred that it would be not easy. It would pass most likely, let's say, through defaults, frankly speaking. But, I mean, this should happen. And as I said before, on the other hand, it's true that it's very easy to grow by buying ships because there is no specialization. I mean, I think any of your ships is, you know, custom-made, very much, you know, customized to your specific needs. At the end of the day, a tanker or a bulker, which is the added value you can grant in terms of, you know, customizing the ship.
I have another very short question and short answer if possible. Taking for granted, of course, that there is an economical background for an M&A deal, from the perspective of a family-run business, in your case from generations, do you consider an opportunity the acquisition of a public company, listed or not, with different governance, different business model? Is, in your opinion, the buyer bringing value also to the target company?
I'll make clear which is my point. Let's say I'm one of the few. I was asking Fabrizio whether the 10 transactions in the merger was including you and our transaction. I'm one of the few which has done several private equity deals. And we have, for example, chosen to have single deal on single purpose, on single part or single assets of our company. We were a little bit scared, let's say, to open more widely, let's say, private equity investors in our paid capital, which is absolutely, let's say, the same way. I mean, if you look, let's say, the same part of the picture in the opposite way, definitely there may come out opportunities. On the other hand, I don't see many companies which are completely, let's say, you know, how do you say, contendibili, you know, which can be contestable. Yes, exactly. Grazie. Unless you go on the, I don't know, Greek market or other NASDAQ, but I think biggest part of the companies that you can find there is better to stay out because they are totally, let's say, you know, they are non-performing companies, let's say. So opportunities can come. You're right. I mean, you had a very good example. I think another big limit will be the banks. Again, I believe that maybe the driver on these opportunities will be the banking market, because if they see that their client is not performing and then they can help, let's say, someone else, let's say, to buy or to let's say, add some synergy or by buying, I mean, this could be an opportunity as well. But again, I'm a bit skeptic, honestly speaking. In dry bulk and tanker, this may happen very quickly.
Thank you very much, Angelo. And let me introduce Mr. Konstantinos Vouterakos, partner of KGDI law firm, an international law firm based in Greece. We are all very interested in your contribution to this. I would be very curious, as my question, to know, is it possible to, speaking about Greece, to how to identify M&A potential targets now?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. First of all, my thanks to Francesco for inviting me this year to the conference and moving quickly to the answer. I would say that M&A being what it is in the shipping, there's not much to say in terms of targets. And I'm saying that because I believe that shipping M&A is a bit different from M&A in other sectors of the economy. But for the sake of the discussion, I would say what I personally see as targets, and again with the reservation as to how many of those targets there would be. I mean, one possible target may be Greek interest companies that they are listed in New York, shipping companies. They're not Greek companies, but they're Greek interest companies, which some of them, especially those that they would be low on equity, they would be potential targets. I see it more targets not for other shipping companies, but more for private equity funds or hedge funds, because I don't think there is a tradition, like in other sectors of the economy, that you were bought by a similar company, one shipping company buying another one. That's the one area of activity, international activity. On the pure local market, maybe some interest there would be in the passenger sector, mainly because it's a sector that, of course, is heavily indebted, but on the other hand, because of the tourism, there is always a potential. And also it covers the needs of a very common and daily need to communicate. I mean, the islands, connecting the many islands of the Aegean and the Ionian Sea with the mainland. And a third area would touches a little bit more on the first session about infrastructure, concerns the port companies. I'm saying that because it's a matter of recently announced that the government intends to privatize the 12 port companies around Greece. It's part of the medium-term fiscal plan that has been adopted under the auspices of the European Community, and it will run until 2015. And basically the Greek state will sell off the 74% he owns to the two major companies, which are the Piraeus Port Company and Salonika Port Company, and 10 more regional peripheral ports. Some are of interest to Italy as well, because they are ports of Patras, Igoumenitsa, Heraklion that connect with Italy, but also other, some nearby Athens, smaller ports that they cover commercial use or passenger use. Of course, we don't know how this will be affected. What they have announced is that they are appointing advisors, legal advisors and financial advisors for the moment. There's a great push, there is a great pressure on the government to proceed with that, and we see that coming. Of course, we don't know what appetite there will exist for that, especially for Piraeus, because Piraeus, as you may know, most of the commercial activity now is run by Chinese COSCO under a long-term lease agreement. So basically they're selling off is the remaining of the activity, and Salonika, which also might be of interest.
I liked your reply about the ports and your statement about the ports, because I think that one of the best and more positive experience of Greek market was the privatization of the two ports of Thessaloniki and Piraeus. So I stated once in the past that the problem is that in Italy is not to privatize the terminals, but the port authority is my point of view. So coming back just a moment about and connecting to the Angelo answer, the bad boy Angelo, that expressed his opinion about the Greek IPOs. So I want to ask you, so the Greek people, the Greek guys were and had been among the shipping community the most dynamic and the most active M&A players in the time between 2004-2007. But what is your view? It was the result, the outcome of the strategy of the company, or just the result of the investor pressures?
I think that the answer is very easy. It's strategy. I mean, definitely strategy. And besides, most companies are privately held, so there's not really pressure from the investors. But if I want to put it a little bit further, I wouldn't say that it is just recent strategy is kind of a tradition, is within the DNA of the ship owners to take their own risks, to go anti-cycle, don't be afraid of the conditions. So definitely strategy, but it's a kind of a tradition what characterizes the Greek ship owners community.
So thank you very much and for participating to this session of shipping and M&A.
Unfortunately, we had some question for our Chinese friends, but disappeared.
At the gala dinner, but I must thank also the chairman and all the speakers and panelists. Actually, the chairman are within the core of the Italian M&A. Diego has been doing a lot of M&A abroad and now is involved in the privatization of Tirrenia with other two very distinguished and important ship owners. Fabrizio is always trying and sometimes he's succeeding. And I think there will be an escalation along the years. Thank you very much.
Francesco, I suggest to have next time have Diego among the panelists or speakers for the experience in the M&A.
Thank you. And I think we also had the opportunity through you to build up a shipping lawyer, also in cooperation with our M&A friends, some expertise. This is very interesting that a shipping lawyer can be so flexible to deal with M&A, and an M&A lawyer can be so helpful and flexible to understand shipping.
Thank you, Francesco. Thank you to everybody.